this is Flora, and this is Michelle. Today, we're going to talk about applying to Google. Michelle is a people analyst at Google, and I'll be asking her about what she does, her career path, and how she prepared for her interview. If you're still interested, stay tuned. Hi, this is Flora. This is Flora. This is Flora again. Flora's street interview. So Michelle, I know before Google, you were actually a consultant at Deloitte for 3 years. What makes you want to change to become an analyst at a tech company?
When I was at Deloitte Consulting, I did a variety of different things.
Okay.
I did system design, I did data analysis, I did a lot of stakeholder engagement, reporting to the leadership. I've also led engineers. And I really appreciate the opportunities to lead people and also doing reporting to the leadership. I think those kind of opportunities don't come with every job positions to new college grads everywhere else. While I did really appreciate that, towards about the end of my second year in consulting, I felt that because I did a lot of different things and I saw that it would put me through still doing a lot of different things in the next 2 to 3 years, and that would build me up as more of a generalist. But I wanted to specialize in something. And I looked back at the internships that I've had as well as my full-time experience in consulting. I think the most glorious moment that I enjoyed and missed was always understanding the existing process, talking to people, doing the analysis, and then coming up with a recommendation to make the process more efficient so that the users could have a better experience. I've always really enjoyed that, and I looked at job postings online and I found that that would fall into like the strategy category, and I put quotation marks around strategy because the titles could be different depending on what area you're serving. So for example, if you're strategizing a business process, the title would be a business analyst. So on and so forth for marketing analyst, and for my current position, I am strategizing or making the recruiting process more efficient, which is a people process, so my title is a people analyst. I did some self-searching, and I also talked to the people in those strategy roles, and that confirmed that I wanted to make the transition.
What do you do as people analyst?
Not a lot of companies have this title, have my team. So in Google hires tens and thousands of candidates every year, and Google really cares about the recruiting process. We want to make the recruiting process more efficient for the staffers, and we want to make the recruiting process more enjoyable to the candidates. So we are a team of data analysts that look at the recruiting process from different lengths. So for example, there's industry recruiting, campus recruiting, recruiting in like different countries, etc. And we help make the recruiting process more efficient.
From consulting to a people analyst, right? Did you know from the very beginning you want to be a people analyst?
I didn't know. I only knew that I wanted to do data analysis and I wanted to do business partnership. And the end goal of my role, I imagined it to be improving some kind of process. So I applied to a couple of different positions at Google, mostly under products, because product teams hire a lot of business analysts, strategy analysts. They didn't work out. But one day, a sourcer or a recruiter for this position found me through LinkedIn. She reached out to me and introduced me to this position. And I was very wild as well, because this position does do data analysis. We would get to work with the staffing teams to understand the business nuances on the staffing floor and would help improve the recruiting process. This is not a position that I would even know that would exist in this world. And I was really glad that I got introduced to it. I definitely enjoy it now, and I really appreciate that the recruiter spent the effort to reach out to me and found me.
We all know that for each position that Google opened, there will be thousands and thousands of people that's applying. How did you even make your resume stand out among all those competitors?
Polishing the resume is definitely a very tedious process, but it is a step that you have to take.
Okay.
I found a lot of my peers and mentors. When I decided to make the job hop, I explained my situation to them and expressed my interest in a new position to them. And they were very touched by my story. They were very supportive of my decision, and they asked me to let them know if I needed any help. And so I asked them if they could give me resume critiques.
Okay.
I also told them that they could be very straightforward with the resume critiques. I would not get hurt. And they did come back with very straightforward comments. I went through a lot of iterations of my resume because I think we tend to list out our tasks instead of trying to point out the impact of our tasks. So that's mostly why I made a lot of iterations to really present why was my role important, what are some impacts that I made on my projects, how did I influence people. So those kind of more high level, more high impact presentation of my role.
Okay, and then you mentioned that you try to reach out to mentors, people working in the industry. How you find those people? Who are some of those people that you would look for help?
Yeah, I think there are 3 areas where I find peers and mentors. One is from schoolmates from college, and then from people that I have worked with, either peers or more senior level professionals that I have worked with and I kept in touch with. And then lastly, as I was looking for positions that I felt I would be interested in, I also reached out to people through LinkedIn who were in similar positions. I chatted with them, maintained a professional relationship, and then when I reached out for help, they gladly helped me.
Okay.
And
do you have any tips when reaching out to them?
I think definitely be very genuine. I've always been very open and transparent when sharing my stories. And when you share your story, a good storytelling should always help the listeners understand you. And they did. That's why they were very supportive. And also, I think as I was going through the job search process, I always kept them in touch. I always kept them updated, and whether I was doing well or not. That made them feel that I was not just using them as a one-time thing, but I actually saw them as a part of my career path, and they really appreciated that. I actually went through some of that in one of the business communication courses that I taught online for free a few months ago. I'm currently in the process of organizing course contents, planning to teach more courses on including resume, case study prep, and business communication, how to reach out to professionals, how to maintain professional relationships, etc.
Yeah, that would be a really good resources to look into if people are interested in learning more. How or where can they find you?
Yeah, feel free to connect with me through LinkedIn, and then as I would be publicizing my courses, I would be posting those on LinkedIn, and they will all be free and online.
Okay, if you're interested learning how to reach out to mentors, polishing your resume, or business communication through these process, you can reach out to Michelle through her LinkedIn page, and if she has any updated information, she'll post there. Let's get into the meat. We all know the interview process is really, really hard. What did you prepare for it?
In terms of the interview, I prepped for 3 major areas. One was behavioral, second was case study, and third was technical. So for behavioral questions are very common in interview questions for I guess any type of roles. So what I did was just go online and I searched commonly asked behavioral questions. I also went to Glassdoor, and for every job position that I was interviewing for, I would go search what are the previous behavioral questions that were asked and prepare for those. The behavioral questions would mostly be how did you lead a team before? How
Okay.
did you interact with clients? How did you resolve a conflict? Questions like that.
Okay.
And then
Yeah. So for conflict, those kind of things, can you give us an example, maybe from your previous job? What kind of situation counts as a conflict, and how did you explain that?
I think a conflict occurs when the project team is proposing to offer something, but the stakeholder or the client thinks that this offering is not meeting their concern.
Okay.
Or is not resolving their concern. It has definitely happened before. I think as you work with people, people's expectation would sometimes not match with what you think you could offer.
Right.
I think so. What I did previously was always keep an open mind,
Okay.
be open to communicate. So when that happened, I went to the client and I asked the client, what really is your underlying concern?
Okay.
What are you expecting to be the resolution for it?
Okay.
And also explained the reason that we proposed our offering to see where the gaps were.
Okay.
When things like that happen, sometimes the stakeholder does not have a very clear understanding of what our offering would cover, or sometimes we missed a stakeholder's concern.
Okay.
So really understanding each other and then finding the right resolution for the concern, for the issue.
Okay.
And I think in an interview, what you do is to present the thought process and also to show that you have been an open listener and open communicator in your previous experiences.
Right. And then you also mentioned about case studies. I know usually in the consulting industry, they do a lot of case study.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that in tech companies they do similar stuff. But why do you think it's important to prepare for that?
Yeah. The need for preparing for a case study varies for different job roles. Because I am applying for a more business-oriented position, that is still essential because the hiring team wants to see that when a issue rises, you would be able to form very logical thoughts.
Okay.
You would be able to make logical recommendations. And to prepare for it, I would also recommend you to prepare for based on the job role that you're applying to. So maybe go on Glassdoor and search for previously asked case study questions.
Okay. Can you give us an example, maybe like what kind of case study that you prepared, and then how do you approach that?
When I prepared for a case study, I went online and I searched commonly used case study frameworks. And a couple of those were cost-benefit analysis, there was market penetration, and if you're applying for, say, a marketing strategy analyst role, then definitely prepare for the marketing framework, right?
Okay.
And when you're asked of a marketing question, then you could phrase your answer in a very organized way and say that in order to market our product, I would look at those different areas, including cost, hiring talent, the cost of living, as well as whether the users in that area would be able to afford our product, and also like the legal issues. And then go through those different areas in a little bit more detail, and then in the end make a final recommendation.
Okay.
Maybe there's not a right or wrong answer, but they really want to see that your thought process is logical, and also they could be convinced of your final recommendation.
Lastly, you talk about technical. So you are an analyst. What are some of the technical things you have to do?
When I applied for this role, I looked at the qualifications that they listed, and they wanted people who would be able to script using SQL and also building models in Excel. I previously had some Excel as well as SQL scripting experiences through consulting, but I knew that to become a data analyst at Google, I would need to be more fluent in SQL coding. So I found a couple of online learning platforms and did a lot of self-studying, did a lot of practices to prepare for the questions.
Okay. So then how did you know I prepared for this and they're enough?
I think the online open sources were definitely super helpful. So I went to Glassdoor and I searched Google's interview question for this position, and I looked at some of the previous SQL questions that were asked that people posted, and to a point where I made sure that I could answer those types of questions. I felt confident that I could nail the interview, and I did.
Okay. I really wanted to express that even for people who doesn't have a technical background, there are a lot of roles that you can do. So if you have any suggestions for those people who doesn't have a tech background but are aspiring to work in the tech industry.
So I double majored in business administration and political science in undergrad. I didn't take any coding courses in college, and I think this applies to anyone who wants to do a job hop to an industry that they're not familiar with. Once you made the decision that you want to job hop into that industry, understand where you currently are, what skills you have, and what skills you need to have to get there. So find out the gap and then make up for the gap. So for example, in my case, I felt that my SQL skills were not strong enough at that point. So I did a lot of self-studying, I did a lot of self-practices. I reached out to friends and asked them for coaching. I think maybe maybe the gap is not SQL for everybody, but people probably have some kind of gaps that they need to make up for. So they need to do some self-searching and also do research and do self-studying.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So I think we got a lot of useful information. I always believe that your job hunting process is also a really good way to get to know ourselves. And then if currently you fail some interview, it's okay. Don't let that get you down. We both wanted to use these media, these platforms to help anybody who really want to get their dream job. If you want to learn more about Michelle and her courses, you can reach out her on LinkedIn. And if you like my video, please subscribe and like or comment. Let me know what you want to learn from other people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.